Hello everybody, and in this video we're gonna create the users list recycler view. So inside the user list activity we want to have a recycler view that shows all the registered users, and this data will come from Firebase user child. So if we have 10 child, the list will display 10 users. Okay, so to get started with Recyclerview, we need to create a layout file, and this layout file will be the design of the item. So in the Recyclerview, you will only need to design a single item, and then when you pass this layout file to the adapter, he will bind this layout with the data to produce different item, but the design will be the same. So to create it, go to the layout folder, right click, new layout resource file, and from here make sure the root element is constraint layout and call it user underscore list underscore item because it represents a single item. And now we have the constraint layout, and now we are in the design tab. Let's go to the split, and let me just have some space right here and adjust the height to be 70 dp, and this, as you can see from here, will be the height of the single item. So what we want in the item, we want a text view that represents the name and a text view that represents the email, and of course a button that we can use to send the notification to. And of course the data is available right here. We have the email, we have the name, so we can bind the data easy. Let's go to the design tab, and from here, from the palette at the left, drag and drop, add text view, constrain it to the left, constrain it to the top, and change the ID to be name text view, and click refactor. And for the text, let me just select this, and for the text right here, delete it. To have a placeholder, scroll down and use the attribute that have this logo or this icon. This is screwdriver or something. Anyway, for example, let's call it Musab. So now we have a placeholder, and this will not be shown when I run the application, just a placeholder for the design so I can see how it looks and adjust it if it's not. So select the text view and let's change the style of the text view. Scroll down and inside the common attribute, change the text appearance to be, for example, large. Large is good. So now we have the user name. Let's drag and drop another text view right here, and this would be the email, constrain it to the bottom, and of course, and then constrain the top to the bottom of the text view. Now go ahead and change the ID to be email text view and click refactor, and also remove the text and use a placeholder attribute or tools text. Is called tools text, and let's put something like this. Okay, gmail.com, and of course this is not my real email. So now we have the text, name text, and we have the email. Let's create a button right here, and from here we can use, let's go to the buttons and select an image button, drag it and drop it inside here, and search for send. And if you search for send, you will find this cool icon and click OK. Let's constrain it to the right and to the bottom, and let me just change something from here. Make sure that the width is match constraint for this. and match constraint for this too. Okay, now for the button, let's change the ID to be send button, and we will use it later to show a dialog that will send the notification. So now it is really huge. Let's go to split because it is easier to adjust the height of it. So we want it to be, for example, 50 dp by 50 dB. Now as you can see that the icon or the image button have a gray background, as you can see from here, and we don't really want that, so we can change it by specifying background. And we have in Android a common attribute that is called selectable background, selectable item background, and if you specify it, you will find that now the background is think it's background tint. Okay, just a background tint. You will find that the background now is, let me just constrain it, let's go to back design. You will find now that the background is transparent. So now we have the item, the list item that we have right here. So let's go ahead and create the second thing we need, and the second thing is an adapter. And if you are not familiar with the Recyclerview, an adapter is a class that will manage the Recyclerview. So right click on the package name, choose new, and from here select Kotlin file and class, and make sure class is selected, and you can name it anything. I will name it user list adapter. Okay, adapter, and hit enter. This will create an adapter class for us, and for now of course it's an empty class. To make it a Recyclerview class, Recyclerview adapter, make sure it's extend, make sure it is a subclass of Recyclerview dot adapter. And here if we selected this, we will need to specify the view holder, and like the name implies, the view holder will hold the views. So all the views that you created right here will be initialized inside the placeholder, like when you initialize a view inside an activity using find view by ID. We will do the same using a view holder, and a view holder is a class inside the adapter. It doesn't have to be inside the adapter, but you need to write its name right here. So let me just say user list adapter dot, and let's specify the name my view holder. Okay, so now of course the adapter here needs a constructor, and inside this constructor you can pass an argument, and let's pass private val. Let's call it users list, and it's a mutable list of, we have the user model if you remember from the previous videos, and let's specify the type right here. So now import it. Let me just give myself some space. So now we have an error because we need to override some method. Oh, I'm sorry, we need to also create a constructor for this adapter. Now let's go ahead and from here click implement and override those three methods and click OK. So we have three methods, and let's create the view holder because it is easier. Create the class inside the user list adapter, and we have the my view holder, and it should extend Recyclerview dot view holder. Okay, let's create a constructor for this, and here we need a view because it's a view holder, and we will pass the view directly to the view holder constructor or the super constructor, and inside this class we need to initialize all the views that we have. So we have the val username, and of course its type is a text view, and we can find it inside the view. So we will use view.find view by id resources.id, and we have the username. I call it the name, I think, name text view. So let's duplicate the line by using Ctrl D and from here we have the email, and it's a text view too, and we have the email text view. Last but not least, this will be an image button, and this will be the send button, and from here change the ID to be the send button. So we are done with the view holder. Let's go ahead, and from here we need to implement all of these three methods. Let's start with the easiest one, get item count, and in this method we will return the length of the recycler view, and obviously the length of the recycler view will equal to the length of the list. So we can just return from here, we can just return users list dot, and we have a couple of methods, and we will use the size. So we have the get item count, and of course let's implement this on create view holder, and like the name implies, it will create the view holder, and we need to inflate this view because it is now an XML design. But if you take a look at the view holder, it requires a view object, so we need to use what is called a layout inflator. So let's create a variable to hold the resulting inflated view, and we will use a layout inflator and get it from the parent dot context, and then we can use the method inflate and specify the layout file that have the item design. As you can see, we just designed it right here, and then we have two arguments, the view groups view. The view group now here is called the parent. Okay, so we have the parent, and last parameter is false. So now we have the view, but this on create view holder, this method requires that we need to return a view holder, and that is very easy. So we return a view holder, and we will pass in the view object, return it right now. So now we are done with this view holder, and of course we can get rid of this right here because we can access it directly. Now for the last method, on bind view holder, and on this method we will need to bind the views using the data that we have with the array. So we have a position, so every time an item of the list is created, we will get a position, and using this position we can get from the users list a data. We can get a data from this users list. We can get an item, the first user, and then it will be called again with another position, and we can get the data of the second user, and so on. So let's create a variable that called user, and it will equal to users list dot get, and we will use the position. So now we will get, every time we will get a new data for the corresponding position. So now let's go ahead and bind those views. So now we have the views right here, and we can access them because we have a reference to the holder, the view holder. We can say holder dot email dot text equal to user dot email. Let's duplicate the line, and we need to specify also email. We have the email, the username, and it will equal to user dot name. And lastly we have send button, and of course the send button we need to a click listener, so we will call set on click listener, and we will implement it in a next video, so we'll not implement it today. Now we have the item and everything looks good. We have the list adapter. Now after we successfully created the users list adapter, let's go ahead to the users list activity from here and create some instance of the adapter and for the recycler view. And I just forgot, we need to create the recycler view XML element inside the user list activity. So now we can, from here in the common section, drag and drop Recyclerview, and make sure to constrain it to all of the 4 sides. Okay, constrain it all to all of the 4 sides, and make sure 0dp or match constraint is set for the post width and height. Select it and make sure to change the ID of the recycler view from here, recycler view, and now we change the ID. Let's get back to the user list activity and create private let integer var, and let's call an adapter users list adapter. Again we have private let integer val, we have the recycler view. Now inside on create, let's initialize the recycler view by using the ID. So we have the recycler view, and then let's initialize the adapter equal to user list adapter, and as you have seen we need a list. So let's create here private val, and let's call it users list, and its a type is mutable list of user, and we need to initialize it at least using mutable list of. So now it is an empty list of users, so let's use it right here, users list. Now we can tell the recycler view to use this adapter to be this adapter, and then we can tell the recycler view also and set the layout manager to be linear layout manager that requires the context. And now we need to grab the data from Firebase, because for now if we run the application we will notice that the list is empty because we didn't query the data from Firebase database. For now let me just log in right here, login, and now we should be landed in the users list. As you can see it is empty, so let's create a new method that will get the data from Firebase. Call it private fun get all users. Okay, and it will get all the users from Firebase database, get instance, get reference, and the reference, as you can see from here, it is user. So we specify user here, and to be able to get the data we need to attach a listener called add child event listener, and we can use the object expression in Kotlin to create inner class, and it will be called child event listener. And of course we need to implement some members or methods, we need to implement them all. And let's delete this removed, we won't need only one method, and this is called onChild added that have the data snapshot. So now from the snapshot we can call get value, and here we will type the class or the type of the data, and it is user column class.java. So now we will have a user right here. Let's use the let function to check for nullability, because if it is null we don't really want to add it to our list. So if it is not null, this code block will be executed. So inside this we will add it to the list, to the users list dot add, and we will add in the user explanation to use a question mark. So now we have the user list. The user has been added to the user list, and then we need to notify the adapter by calling notify data set change. So now we have the method is ready. Let's call it just right here inside the onCreate. Let's run the application and see the result. We should be able to see a list of one user for now, because we don't have a lot of users. As you can see from here, as you can see we have only one user. So let's wait, and now we have an error. Let me just show you the error, because if you encounter it in the future, you will know what's the problem. So let me just run the application again to be able to see the error. So as you can see the error right here, that's it. Class user does not define no argument constructor. So Firebase requires that your class, in this case this is the user class, that must have a no argument constructor. And the easiest way to create that is to give every one of those elements a default argument or default argument value. Okay, so we can give it like, and now for the email, this is just a default argument for every field, and of course you can set it to null, but of course you need to convert this into a nullable value. Okay, so now let's run the application. Kotlin have a way, so after you have an argument, a default argument for every property in your data class, the Kotlin language will generate a no argument constructor for you. So you don't have to write it yourself, just use a default argument for every field. So let's run the application and see the result. We should be able to see at least one element inside the list because we have only one element. So now as you can see, we have seen the result. We have the name and we have the email and we have this. So let's make it a little bit more cleaner. Let's add a padding and add a divider. So let's go ahead to the users list activity and go to the XML file for that, and let's add a padding for this right here. We can add a padding of 16 dp, and now it's good. Let's then modify the list of the item itself because we need to add a divider. As you can see, it doesn't have a divider, it is just white right here. To create a divider, that is very easy. Go to the split design. Let me just have some space and create a view right here, just a view element. You need to specify the match, the width. You need to specify the width to be match parent and the height to be for example 2 dp. Okay, so now we have a line. Maybe you can't see it, but it is a line. As you can see from here, we need to click on it and constrain it to the bottom of the screen, so it is always at the bottom of the item, so it is always as a divider. Let's constrain it right here to the left, and from here to there. It is very hard to grab those circular. So now we have this view, and if we just click on this view, now let's change the background because I forget about it. The background should be of color gray. In Android we have darker gray, so let's go to design. As you can see, now we have this cool divider. If we run the application again, and of course if you want to change the length, the thickness of the divider, you can. So now as you can see, we have this cool divider. And for now, this is the end of the video. We created and showed a list of the registered users in the app and show them inside the Recyclerview, and all the data is from Firebase. So now if a new user signs up, it will be shown in this screen also. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Have a nice day.